Welcome once again to Real Shame, a show where the two of us talk about our list of movie blind spots, aka our list of shame. My name is Andy.
And I'm Adam.
And this week we're going to tackle a couple of animated films that I have never seen. Crossing those off of my list, but before we get into those animated spectacular films, we always like to talk about what we have been watching lately. My list is pretty short, but Adam, what have you been watching lately?
I also have a pretty short list. It's been busy for me. I watched a Netflix special, a comedy special that I've heard a lot of good things about, and that's Bo Burnham's Inside. Are you familiar with Bo Burnham or that special?
I have seen the thing on Netflix, but I have not watched it. I do know Bo Burnham from 8th grade, which we watched in the theater. He wrote, and he is also an actor in Promising Young Woman, which I saw recently.
And you weren't a fan of Promising Young Woman?
Not a fan, and I honestly was not a fan of his character. I felt like he was kind of doing his shtick the whole movie.
Okay.
So, not that I dislike him. I just didn't feel like it fit really that well in the movie.
No, I thought 8th grade was really good.
Yeah.
I think he came to prominence because, he does all this kind of comedy musical kind of stuff. And, that was on YouTube a lot and stuff like that. And so Inside was filmed by him, edited, directed by him during quarantine. Took him, I think, close to a year to do it. And it's just filmed in his guest house of him in a single room, kind of like what we're doing here, with a camera and a bunch of lights and stuff like that.
Okay.
And it's excellent.
Really?
The music's really good. It's kind of like poppy and a little musical theater-y and stuff like that. And some of it's very poignant. Some of the points he makes, it's also pretty funny. And he does a bunch of things that I think are pretty interesting. Like, he doesn't shave or cut his hair throughout the whole time, so you can kind of see how ragged he looks throughout the whole thing. And
I don't ever shave or cut my hair.
Well,
okay, I shave, but I don't cut my hair. I trim.
Yeah. Well, I haven't cut my hair since the podcast, so you can see where I land with that, right? So it's pretty interesting. Of the stuff. I like the songs. A couple of songs stuck in my head and jump out to me. And I've seen a couple people analyze some of the songs, and there's some pretty good music theory going on. And he's pretty competent composer. So I enjoyed Bo Burnham's Inside.
I'll have to check it out.
And that's what I've been watching and humming along to.
I have literally not watched any of his stuff. I've only watched 8th grade.
Yeah.
So
I'd be curious to see what you'd think of that.
All right.
Because I don't know where you fall on that kind of stuff. But that's what I've been watching. Let me toss it over to you. What have you been watching?
Just completely at random, I watched a movie that I've never seen before with Ryan Reynolds and that girl that I can't remember her name.
It's
who? Yeah, you can see.
Is it Amy Smart?
Yes, thank you, Amy Smart. You're so smart. Amy Smart and Ryan Reynolds and Chris Klein, called Just Friends.
And doesn't it have Star-Lord's ex-wife in it too?
Yes, Anna Faris.
Anna Faris,
yes. I like that you refer to her as Star-Lord's ex-wife. Yes, it has Anna Faris in it. It's called Just Friends from 2005, where Ryan Reynolds is in love with Amy Smart when they're in high school. But he's overweight, and Chris Klein is also kind of in love with her, but he's this nerdy guitar-playing guy with bad skin. And then fast forward, they're both successful in their own way, and suddenly they're both incredibly handsome, and they're both vying for the affection of Amy Smart, who looks exactly the same, as she did when she was in high school. It's not funny.
Oh, I like the movie.
When's the last time you saw it?
Probably a year or two ago.
Really? I didn't think it was funny at all.
I watch it pretty regularly.
I just did not think it was very funny. I like Ryan Reynolds. I think he's a funny guy. I think he's got good comedic timing. I just did not find this movie very funny at all.
I like it when he's singing and to the camera and mugging.
I don't know. I don't think I was in a bad mood either. I just did not find this movie very funny. I just didn't laugh much at all. But yeah, I'd never seen it, and I don't want to see it again. That's the only thing that I have watched outside of the movies that we have watched for the podcast.
That's right.
So let's just jump into what we're going to talk about today. What are we talking about today?
We're talking about, so we haven't watched a lot of Studio Ghibli movies between the both of us.
Correct.
And so I noticed that was a gap on our list. So I figured, why not, start pulling in some Studio Ghibli movies, some movies directed by Hayao Miyazaki. And the first one I pulled out was his first directorial debut, feature-wise, I think. And that's Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind. A princess of the Valley of the Wind finds herself and her kingdom in the middle of a battle between two other kingdoms, Pajit and what do we call it? Tolmekian? Tolmekian in Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind. This came out in 1984. It is written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki. It's actually based on some graphic novels that he has put together and was writing up prior to this movie and after this movie. From what I read, I think it was about 12 years he was publishing out this this manga, graphic novel, and all that kind of stuff. It's a movie that I haven't seen before, but it's also a movie you haven't seen before, which is why we're doing it this week. So I'm going to toss it over to you and see what's your general sense on the Studio Ghibli movies, and what do you think about Nausicaä?
So I think we kind of established whenever we watch like Ninja Scroll and Sword of the Stranger, I'm pretty deficient. I'm deficient, I feel like, in a lot of animated films anyway, but I'm definitely deficient in animated films that came from Japan. Like I've seen now Ninja Scroll, Sword of the Stranger, Akira, a handful of others. But as far as Studio Ghibli, is Ghibli or Ghibli? Do we care? Ghibli?
Yeah, someone's going to correct us. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to say Ghibli because it sounds funny to me to say Ghibli. Studio, it's like giblets. Studio Ghibli. I am not. I mean, I'm familiar with their work because all their stuff's on Blu-ray, and they've got these fancy steelbooks now that they're coming out with. Of everything. But I just have not gotten around to watching most of their stuff. I have seen. Before the films that we watched this week, I think I've seen 3 Studio Ghibli films.
And those were Spirited
Away, The Secret World of Arrietty, and Grave of the Fireflies.
Yep.
Is the 3 that I've seen before this week. So these were, the stuff we're watching this week is completely brand new to me, both today and Wednesday, what we watched. But I enjoyed... I don't want to get too far into what I enjoyed out of those other 3 films, but I found some enjoyment out of at least 1 or 2 of them. But I didn't know anything about this movie.
Yeah, me either.
At all.
Well, I knew one thing, and I saw Adam Savage built like a diorama with a figurine from Nausicaa, the main princess Nausicaa. He has a little diorama that he built of her, but other than that, I knew nothing about this movie. You.
I didn't know the story. I hadn't read anything about it, so I'm basically going into it completely blind. So, having said all that, I thought the world was cool that they built as far as the ohms, the big creatures. So.
Trilobite-looking things.
Yeah, you kind of gave like a brief little synopsis of it, but the Nausicaa is the main character. As is in the title.
Yep.
And she flies around on a little glider. She kind of has a special communication with the ohms because she had found one when it was like a little baby, and so she's the ohm whisperer. I guess something like that. I thought the world was really cool. I thought the movie was okay, but I really wasn't. I wasn't just blown away by this film. I mean, I do think it was kind of slow. It was decent, but it just didn't blow me away. That's the best way I can say it, I guess. But yeah, the world it built, like if they'd have made like a sequel to this, I would have watched it just to kind of see the further adventures of Nausicaa. But this movie on its own was just kind of slow and sluggish to me. But I thought the world that they presented was kind of neat. But that's about it.
Yeah. No. I'm exactly in the same boat as you. I think this movie shows a lot of promise for Hayao Miyazaki, and he goes on and does great things. So I think this is a good kind of first swing at things. I'm with you. The movie's really slow. It's very pretty and gorgeous, and I like the post-apocalyptic. Like I like the look of everything, but to me, it just felt like it's two stories that are kind of crammed into one. Which is like you have her like going out into the forest and like foraging and pulling all these different elements from these large, post-apocalyptic creatures, and like you have that kind of going on, and then all of a sudden like this ship comes in, and all of a sudden we're in like a different movie, right? And to me, those two didn't really gel that well together. So I just felt like the story, me, everyone knows me. I like story.
Everybody knows you.
I like a pretty strong, structured story. So for me, that didn't really jive very well, and it just felt like that whole last part of what's going on between the two different kingdoms and all that kind of stuff just felt too short. Like it felt short shrifted. Like I think if a movie was just the beginning part before all that happened would have been interesting, or if the movie is just about this warring, this faction between the kingdoms, it would have been interesting. But I think the two joined together probably left a lot to be desired on my end, right?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. So we're 1,000 years in the future.
Yep.
The world is being, I guess, kind of slowly consumed by the Sea of Decay.
Yeah.
And they're safe in the Valley of the Wind, Nausicaa.
Because they have all those trees that are protecting them.
They've got trees that protect them, and the wind and everything. And then you've got these other people, the Pajit and the Tolmekian, that want to resurrect at least one of the great warriors, right? Going to... The great warrior is the only thing that's capable of killing the Sea of Decay or burning away the Sea of Decay. But the Obaba, which is like the witch, or supposedly name means witch, something like that. She's a blind lady.
Yeah, because like I think in Spirited Away you have Obaba too.
Okay,
is like the main witch.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
So that's where I got that from. I think. Too.
Okay. But there's like a prophecy that she knows that there's going to be like a blue-clad figure, and so there's some people that say, "Oh, we can't burn away the Sea of Decay because then it's just going to lead to mankind's destruction again." And the Pajit and the Tolmekian want the Great Warrior to burn it away, so they're kind of fighting, and the people in the Valley of the Wind. I guess they don't really have a name. The people of the Valley of the Wind. They don't have Pajit or Tolmekian.
Yeah, I think they're just the Valley.
They're just kind of the Wind people. They're just kind of caught in the middle. They're farmers.
Gaseous people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I agree with you. What you said about how the ending feels a little quick.
Yeah,
and just hey, we got the Great Warrior, but now it's falling apart or whatever, But and then the Ohms are all coming to destroy everything.
And then she goes and like stop. Yeah, it's like I said,
it's a lot of ideas.
Yeah, none of it really congeals, right? It just feels like he threw a bunch of things up on the.
I think I'm with you there.
Right?
I think I'm with you there. And again, I didn't dislike it. It's not like I watched this and was like, this sucks. But yeah, I just wasn't like over the moon about it. I wasn't crazy about it. I think, like you said, it's a good starting point. Obviously, he would go on to do, and Studio Ghibli would go on to do much bigger and better things than this, but it's not a bad place if you want to start. If you're looking to start watching Studio Ghibli films, it's not a bad place to start because not a bad film. Just we're not crazy about it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So I have a couple things. So basically, this movie was heavily rewritten and edited, and it was pushed out to Europe and the United States as Warriors of the Wind. Okay. And apparently, that didn't sit well with Hayao Miyazaki. And it prevented him from wanting to release a lot of movies in the United States and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So you might know this movie under that different title, but it's not the same thing. The other one is technically this is not a Studio Ghibli movie or Studio Ghibli because the studio started in the summer of '85. And this movie came out in 1984. But it's basically a Hayao Miyazaki movie, and everyone I know kind of associates him with Studio Ghibli. So I think it's kind of grandfathered into the Studio
retroactively
Ghibli.
It's applied. Okay, that's cool.
But the first movie that was a Studio Ghibli movie officially was Castle in the Sky, which came out 2 years later.
Castle in the Sky?
Yeah, we might put a pin in that one.
Are we going to watch that one too?
Who knows?
All right, Nausicaa, The Valley of the Wind is 89% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes with a 91% audience score, and Leonard Maltin really dug it. He gave it 3.5 stars. Cool. I didn't find the Siskel and Ebert review of these films.
I don't know if he would do. I don't know if They don't strike me as...
I know on RogerEbert.com I think I saw My Neighbor Totoro, and I think maybe I saw like a Spirited Away review. Maybe some of like the ones that came later, but I didn't see one for Nausicaä, the Valley of the Wind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so there you go.
So yeah, speaking of which, I kind of gave it away a little bit, but...
You did?
Wanted to choose another movie. So in this week of choosing movies, I did want to... I know Studio Ghibli has, and I'm going to use the names interchangeably, has a bunch of different writers and directors, but like I said, Hayao Miyazaki is probably the one that is most closely associated to it for whatever reason. So I wanted to choose another movie that was written and directed by him, and I figured, and I wanted something that's kind of the same vibe, so I looked at Castle in the Sky, and I'm like, hey, this kind of feels like it would be akin, like it just feels like it's of the same ilk.
A lot of flying in both movies.
A lot of flying in both movies. So I decided to pair this with Castle in the Sky, and that's what we're going to watch in a few days, guys, and review for you. So stay tuned for that. The other question I have about all this is, are these considered anime? Like, I know anime is like Japanese animation, and I don't know if I would consider it the same thing as like Ninja Scroll, Akira, Ghost in the Shell, but maybe that's because those are samurai and cyberpunk. I don't know. So I'm asking you guys, let me know what is the correct category to put this in. Are they anime because they're animation from Japan, or is it something else? I want to know. I don't know.
Japanimation the same as anime? Are those two different things?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, let us know.
We're dumb. We don't know.
Yeah, why are you watching us?
We don't know these terms. I don't. Well, I don't want to offend somebody by calling it anime, and they're like, "That's not anime," and then you go, "Oh, sorry, like I don't."
I think it's
an animated film from Japan. I'll just say that.
That's correct.
I don't know what we call it.
If you want to get some people really mad, talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that's really not anime, although it's really anime influence because it was written and directed here in the States, and it was animated in South Korea. But I don't think people want to. I don't know. I believe that's correct.
Okay.
But anyways, so that was our review on Nausicaä and the Valley of Wind. If you've seen this movie and you love it, or if you've seen this movie and you don't really care for it, let us know. If you're watching us on YouTube, leave a comment down below. We'd love to read those comments and start a conversation there. If you're listening to us on your podcatcher of choice, send us an email. That email is realshame@gmail.com. We also answer viewer questions that are sent to that email address, realshame@gmail.com. So please send us those viewer questions. We're running dry a little bit on our viewers' questions. So anything you want to know, we'll gladly weigh in on. We're also on social media at Real Shame on Instagram. Please like, subscribe, share this episode to your friends and family and whoever, because that really does help spread the word of the show, and we really do appreciate that. And stay tuned in a couple of days as we dive back into some Miyazaki movies, and we both watch Castle in the Sky.
Castle in the Sky.
Castle in the Sky.
It's your Humphrey Bogart.
It's my Humphrey Bogart. Here's looking at you, kid, and we'll see you soon. Bye.